Imperial Uncle. Chapter 35. I pass beneath a pergola covered thickly with green leaves, step through the moon gate, and appraise the building before me. It's a two-story building, rather subdued and tasteful, and not very big. There's a bright, spacious parlor on the first floor, with a small side room farther in. Upstairs is partitioned into two halves with a bedroom on the inside and another small parlor on the outside. A section of gallery extends from the house. With the parlor door open, one can walk onto the gallery. The gallery itself has wooden railings all around, and delicate bamboo blinds hang from the eaves. It's just the thing to house a single person such as myself. Bai Ruhan turns to me. My friend Zhao, do you like the place? It's not bad. Why do you southerners all like to build your houses with two levels though? You can't take in the earth's chi by sleeping on the second floor. I was planning to buy a small courtyard home with a few buildings. It's just going to be for me anyway, so if the place is too big it would take a lot of trouble to maintain. But I never expected for a place like Changzhou to only have small single buildings as far as the eyes can see. That courtyard home with a couple of buildings, half walls, banana trees, a well and grape trellises proved impossible to find. Then Bai Ruhan told me that a family in the eastern side of the city had just lost the head of their family. His sons and daughters were dividing up the family property, and they're in a rush to turn a small residence into silvers to split among them, but that the house is rather suited for me. He asked if I was interested and dragged me here. Next to Bai Ruhan stands that family's youngest son. His name's Hong Xian, about 40-something, slightly built, capable, his ruddy complexion radiating good health and vigor. He doesn't appear at all like a filial son steaming fresh out of the oven of morning. Upon hearing what I just said, he breaks into a grin. Just one word and I can tell this Master Zhao is from the north. Over on this side, Changzhou slants southeast, lots of rain, very damp. Two levels make it easier to guard against the damp. He sizes me up and down. Sounds like you plan to settle in Changzhou then, Master Zhao. Bai Ruhan tells him, oh, you've no idea, Merchant Zhao here's a major traveling merchant. He's even gone to Korea to deal ginseng before. I met him, see, when I was replenishing medicinal ingredients a couple of years back. You know that shop I just opened on Flourish Street? He's half owner of that. He'll probably still be traveling all over, but now that he has a business here, buying a house will give him one more place to stay. Hong Xian repeatedly tells me it's an honor to meet me. I hasten to add modestly, I'm no major merchant, I just travel here and travel there, peddle some miscellaneous goods, just enough to make a living is all. Then if you like the place well enough I'll sell it to you at the base price. I'll think of it as making a friend. Hong Xian tells me, oh, that reminds me, I haven't asked for your name yet. My mother is chronically ill at home, so I was just thinking about buying some ginseng for a decoction. Old ginseng is too strong and older people probably can't withstand it. I've been told that even though Korean ginseng is less effective, it's also milder. If you still have any, Merchant Zhao, I'd like you to put a few on hold for me. Not a problem at all. I probably still have a few in the goods I have on hand, all Korean red ginseng of the highest quality. My name is Zhao Chai, courtesy name Jia Wang. Hong Xian acclaims, what an auspicious name you have, Merchant Zhao. And he starts boasting about the house some more. According to what he tells me, the house was built by the recently deceased landlord Hong to use as a library. He liked to cultivate in Daoism, and whenever he had time he would come stay here for a while to read books as a retreat. He also says that there's quite a bit of ingenuity to the residence's layout. There are pergolas planted with grape ivy in the area between the spirit wall at the main right side entrance and the moon gate of the main courtyard, so it's called the Spring Garden. In the main courtyard, where the main building is located, there's a small fish pond with a couple of floating water lily leaves, which counts for a summer scene. On the left side of the property, in the small courtyard where the kitchen, toilet, and well is located, as it's related to food, drink, and the elimination of such, the 5 crops and grains and so on. It is called the autumn garden. Lastly, the patch behind the main building itself, with its 3 frail-looking winter plum, Hong Xian tells me is especially refined and beautiful in the winter when the flowers bloom, brimming over with winter spirit. So the little residence conceals spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Hong Xian says, that's why my late father called it the 4 seasons garden. My molars feel a bit sore listening to all that, but the asking price for the house itself really is a bargain. I do some calculations in my head, and ultimately decide to buy it. After nearly 3 years of traveling all over, I finally got myself a nest. I moved in here after the purchase, and slept quite well the first night. Bai Ruhan said to me, there's another advantage to living upstairs. You'll find out soon enough, my boy. I had no idea what he meant at the time, but soon I did indeed find out where this advantage lay. It was around the end of the 6th month when I bought the house. Not long after I moved in, sometime in the 7th month the sky darkened and it hadn't cleared up since. Torrential downpour poured down and down to the world below in a whale of rain. A few days of pouring later, I opened my window one morning to find to my surprise a boundless expanse of water downstairs. I stood before the window and stared helplessly as the water rose, and rose again, then rose some more. For a whole day I was unable to get downstairs. By the next dawn, water had already submerged the courtyard's walls. Bai Ruhan and 2 boatmen steered a small boat into my courtyard, and took me out of there. I crouch at the prow, watching small boats and rafts going to and fro on the streets of Chengzhou. The entire city's submerged, but its inhabitants don't seem to think of it as a big deal at all. The shops are open all the same on the 2nd floor. Those vendors who used to crouch by the side of the road to sell vegetables and wares now peddle from their boats. Even the bailiffs of the provincial yamen are going about their patrols on boats. Bai Ruhan has the boatmen steer us to the side of a restaurant. There's a ladder hanging on the edge of the 2nd floor. The boat stops right at it, and I follow Bai Ruhan, stepping onto the ladder to climb up to the 2nd floor gallery. Good thing I'm nimble, so the climbing is smooth and easy. The moment I step into the gallery, a young server is waiting with a dry towel, bowing down to dry off and smooth down the hem of my clothes before letting me into the dining hall. They deliver the menu, and I've just taken a sip of tea when out of the corner of my eye I spot someone sticking their head out of the window in the restaurant across the street to howl, "We need a bunch of scallions over here." Immediately, a small boat floats right over, piled high with vegetables. I cannot help exclaiming in admiration. The local customs here are truly extraordinary. Bai Ruhan is rifling through the menu, and he strokes the short mustache on his lip. Got used to it? Chengzhou isn't far from the Yangtze River, and as it's between 2 rivers too, it floods often. We each order 2 dishes, and while we wait for the food to arrive, Bai Ruhan starts talking to me as he stares out at the endless stream of boats and rafts. This place, every year it floods come summer. To protect the other bigger cities along the river, this area's even often used as a place to divert flood water. We're all used to it. Give it a fortnight and it'll all recede. Bai Ruhan takes a couple of spiced broad beans to chew on. The flood was never so high in the past, though at most it just came up to your waist. But about 3 years or so back, the water got especially high. He stretches his neck out closer to me, and lowers his voice. Everyone says, it's the vengeful spirit of that luckless Prince Huai out causing mischief. That startles me a bit. No way. What could Prince Huai ever have to do with this place? Bai Ruhan's neck seems to get even longer, and his voice even quieter. My boy, as to that, you've no idea. The name of our Chengzhou has a Cheng in it, and out by the eastern side of the city there's a Jun River. I think Prince Huai's courtesy name just so happened to be Chenjun. I laughed dryly a couple of times. Bai Ruhan twirls the ends of his short mustache. Sometimes you don't have a choice but to believe in spooky stuff like that. You know that vengeful spirit Prince Huai was a cripple. So 3 years ago, not long after he died, the flooding here got especially bad, and a shrine outside the city named River Elder Shrine got struck down by lightning. That's cause it had the sound bow just like cripple in it, you see. Then afterwards, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't manage to rebuild it. Only once His Majesty issued an edict to build a huge tomb for Prince Huai and a ritual was done, and we changed the name of River Elder Shrine to River God Shrine, were they able to rebuild the place. I reply, well, that does sound kind of bizarre. Good thing the food arrives just then, and Bai Ruhin takes a little break. I pick up a shred of meat with my chopsticks, and Bai Ruhin pours a cup of wine. Outside the windows, another pack of bailiffs drifts down the street, standing on their boats. Bai Ruhin stares at boat after boat of bailiffs. A while back, the flood season was just about to start, so our Lord Prefecture Magistrate sent a letter to the Imperial Court asking for funds and provisions. I've been told that this year, the court is sending over a real prominent Lord Envoy to help with flood mitigation. Maybe he's arriving soon. These past few days, the prefectural yaman's been taking some strict precautions. I haven't made inquiries of what's going on at court for years. I wonder how many of our imperial court's towering pillars have changed. I cannot help asking, which lord is it? Such a commotion. Bai Ruhin raises his cup, and quietly tells me, I heard it's the Assistant Minister of Works, Yun Yu. He's quite something, isn't he? Once Grand Chancellor Lu took the blame and put in his resignation, outside of Lord Zhongbing. When it comes to the younger officials, who can compare to him? Too bad he's Yun Tang's son. Grand Chancellor Lu took most of the responsibility for that miscarriage of justice against Prince Huai, but I hear he had a hand in it too. Otherwise, after Chancellor Liu's resignation, maybe Lord Zhang wouldn't have had a turn at the post of Grand Chancellor. I chuckle a couple of times, holding my wine cup. Bai Ruhin shakes his head. But I wonder if once this lord arrives, the flood is only going to get worse. End chapter. Imperial Uncle. Chapter 36. Yun Yu should be coming in the next few days to mitigate the flood. I probably have to stay in Chengzhou until the start of the 8th month. Maybe I'll catch a glimpse of him, maybe I won't. It's all the same whether I'll be able to catch a glimpse of him or not. Life is rather long, lasting a few decades. No matter if it's Yun Yu, Lu Tongyi, even Kijhe, or any of my old acquaintances, there's no telling if on any given day we'll run into each other again. Prince Huai has long since become a handful of ashes, buried in a tomb at the capital, and there were many who witnessed the burning too, so one may assume none will suspect deception. Only the merchant Zhao Chai exists now. Whatever can happen even if we do meet again. I wonder how those people are getting on now. Yun Yu and that nephew of mine. No, he's no longer my nephew. I meant His Majesty. I wonder if they're still getting along. His Majesty sure has been full of vigor in the past couple of years. I've been told he had quite a few sons. What happened to Yun Yu is truly lamentable. Aside from himself, everyone in his family are now criminals. Truth be told, he's a filial person. He saved all their lives, though perhaps his entire family hates him down to the marrow now. On top of all that, the one he's fallen for had to be an emperor. That's why they say destiny is what pairs each pot with a lid. It's highly likely that no one outside of Kijhe can tame Yun Yu, and no one outside of Yun Yu can tie down Kijhe, either. As for Lu Tongyi, when I heard he had resigned and returned home, I felt a bit guilty. You can say that a pillar of government was toppled by my hand. Later I think I heard some rumor that he's left to live in seclusion, and another that said he's roaming the world. At least that must be an easier life than one at court. He told me once before that he wanted to be free, not restrained by a career. When I think of it that way, I feel a little less guilty. That I happen to be here in Chengzhou while Yun Yu's mitigating the flood is probably providence. Once this opportunity passes, maybe we'll meet again a few more times by chance, or maybe we'll never see each other again. After we finish our meal at the restaurant, Bai Ruhan takes me to his house to discuss some business regarding the store. Bai Ruhan's household is one of the richest in the city of Chengzhou. The residence itself is quite lavishly built. With fully half of it submerged, a chunk of the perimeter wall still shows above the water. Next to the main gate, there's an opening on the wall that allows for the passage of boats. Supposedly all residences in Chengzhou belonging to affluent households have a boat gate just like this one. Our boat enters the residence and drifts right into the main hall. Bai Ruhan has 4 wives, 3 sons, and 2 daughters. His eldest son is already 15, learning how to run the business from his dad. Bai Ruhan calls him over to greet me, calling me Uncle Zhao. Then there are 3 younger ones, all of them around 7 to 10, running back and forth playing in the second floor gallery, folding paper boats and tossing them onto the water. And there's one more, his youngest daughter, just about a year old, from Bai Ruhan's third wife. The third lady Bai is a shrewd and fierce woman. Half the shops under Bai Ruhan's control are managed by her. Womenfolk in merchant households tend not to avoid meeting outside guests to begin with, and she often accompanies Bai Ruhan when he's out negotiating business deals. She's even better than her husband at balancing a ledger. The third lady Bai is with us today as well. Bai Ruhan is explaining to me the expenses of opening the storefront as well as the planning and preparations that come after. Lady Bai sits there next to him, flips open an account ledger, and calls out each entry clearly as her fingers click-clack away on the abacus. Behind her are her maids and the nanny holding her little girl. It's only the space of a half hour and she has already finished checking over every line. Whereupon she hands the book and abacus to a maid and takes her child from the nanny's arms into her own. I cannot help but exclaim, "You and your wife are truly a match made in heaven, what a harmonious relationship you have." Bai Ruhan laughs. "You just have to get yourself a wife, my boy. My wife was so dumb when she married me, she didn't know how to do anything, but she's not been learning for even a year, and she's already of help." Lady Bai adds, "Yeah, why are you not married yet, Merchant Zhao? How many men on this earth can be as blessed as Bai is? His wives are each delicate as blossoms and refined as polished jade, tender, virtuous one and all, not to mention his third wife being so talented and beautiful. I do mean to marry, but I haven't met anyone who seems meant for me, so I have no choice but to remain a bachelor." She purses her lips and smiles. "That's because your standards are too high. In a country of 5 lakes surrounded by 4 seas, vast lands north and south of the Yangtze River, somehow not a single one is good enough for you." Bai Ruhan shakes his head. "You Eniang, you're mistaken. In my opinion, someone like my old pal Zhao here is single because there's already someone in his heart, and he can't let her go. Isn't that so, my friend? I decide to play along. When did you learn the art of divination, Bai? Just tell us if you've ever had anyone on your mind. Be honest now," Bai Ruhan says. I consider this for a moment. Then I nod. "Honestly?" "Yes." Bai Ruhan claps his hands and turns to his wife. "See." Then he turns back to me. "Someone who can be on your mind to the point where you don't marry must be a stunning beauty, yes?" I make a hum of agreement, something like that. Bai Ruhan twirls his mustache. "And she must be both talented and beautiful, and as gentle and yielding as water." The first, yes. The latter, not so much, rather fierce, actually. Bai Ruhan bursts out laughing. He slaps his thigh. "Oh, I see you like to be ruled over, my boy. So would that be a lady of the Red Lantern district or one kept in the boudoir? The family works for the imperial court. Ayo, that's something else. A young lady from a court official's family. So how come things between you two didn't work out?" "Oh, this person had someone else in mind. Their feelings are mutual and they're together now." Bai Ruhan is sad on my behalf. Sighing, he tries to console me, "Since it's not meant to be, you ought to let it go, my boy. There's plenty of fish left in the sea. Well, I did let it go long ago, but I've gotten used to being on my own. What with the business and traveling, I put it out of mind. I have been considering finding someone lately. If you and your wife know anyone suitable, please do introduce me. Bai Ruhan immediately slaps his chest and guarantees that it shall be done. His little girl is in Lady Bai's arms playing with a necklace. I try to catch her attention with a string of grapes, and she stretches out her hand trying to get it. She lisps at me, "I want." Rather morosely, Bai Ruhan tells me that his kids just started learning to speak, and she has a bad habit. Whenever she sees a woman she calls her mother, and whenever she sees a man she calls him "I" without exception. I give her the grapes, and she immediately opens her arms for a hug. Taking her from her mother, I give her a hug. She seizes my lapel and calls me "I" over and over. How exceptionally cute. I cannot help but wonder if it's about time I find myself a wife. I ask for nothing else, only for someone who can be true and truly wants to live the rest of our lives together, that's all. We'd make a family, have a few kids like this one running about. My life will have had a starting point and a finish line then. Bai Ruhan extends another invitation for me to stay at his house. I quickly turn him down. And so he lends me a couple of servants, a small boat, a wooden barrel to store water with, and a barrel full of potable water. The two servants will come over on the boat at daybreak to take me for a stroll. Once I've had my meals outside, or maybe brought some food back, they will return to the Bai household in the evening. Water is everywhere right now, but getting drinking water is a bit inconvenient. The water that's everywhere is unclean. All of the city's commoners have to take their boats and their barrels to the mountain spring outside the city to collect drinking water. Every family has 2 barrels each, one for storing water to drink, another to collect rainwater that, once filtered, can be used for washing. Bai Ruhan tells me that once the water recedes, I'll have to fill in the well in the courtyard and dig a new one. The old well has already been contaminated by the flood, and drinking from it can make one ill. Lady Bai even arranged for a case of charcoal, a copper stove, as well as 2 kettles to be brought to me. The charcoal is sealed inside an iron trunk to protect it against fire. You move what's needed to the stove when using. 2 kettles, one for heating drinking water, one for heating water for such things as baths. I've always loved to drink tea. It takes me only 2 days to finish off that entire barrel of water from the Bais. I take the boat to the mountain to get some more with the barrel. Row upon row of boats are moored at the foot of the mountain. The Bai servants point me the way one can walk all the way to the mouth of the spring on a neatly paved mountain road. The road is fully paved with flagstones, a project contributed to by the city's richest families. Workers with pushcarts wait by the side of the road, peddling their labor. I spend 20 coppers on a cart, and a porter waiting here just for this purpose will push the barrel up the mountain and bring it back down once it's full and help me carry it back onto the boat. The local yamen has dispatched a few bailiffs to the spring. On arrival, you must first go to a bailiff, give them your name, take a token with a number, and wait your turn to get water when your number's up. In a patch of open space, a small hut's been set up to sell tea so one can have some tea while waiting. A man approaches me as soon as I sit down inside the tea hut, and says to me in a low voice, "Judging from your appearance and the way you're dressed, sir, I know you are a respectable sort, your time's precious. I have a token right here, got it first thing in the morning. Another 2, 3 numbers and it'll be your turn to get water. Give me 10 coppers gratuity and I'll trade it with you. Otherwise, lining up the way you are, you won't get any water for at least 2 hours. 10 coppers not a lot, but I have nothing better to do today so there's no harm in waiting a bit longer, so I turn him down. Only once the man is some distance from us does the porter tell me, "Good thing you didn't just buy it." That man is one of the city's ruffians, and he's formed a group with some others to line up here in the morning for tokens, trade it with those that come afterwards to make spending money, then trade those tokens with people farther down the line. They make more money in a day than those of us cart pushers doing the hard work. The bailiffs already know who they are, and what with an important official coming from the Imperial Court for flood mitigation, the prefectural magistrate needs to make sure everything is in order. If you'd traded it with him, the bailiff might have ended up confiscating your token and not letting you get water at all. That explains it. Apparently state-owned commerce has no monopoly on profiteering off of refugees. Roughly an hour later, I bring my water off the mountain, and take the boat back into the city. Along the way I buy a cut of meat off a boat on the side of the road and a couple caddies of mushrooms. All the spices and condiments in my kitchen are soaking in flood water now, so I also buy a bit of salt, sugar, pepper, crushed anise, as well as some chili and cumin powder. When I traveled into the northern desert to collect furs, I also brought back a roasting rack. It just so happens that it was shelved away on the second floor and didn't get drowned in the deluge. When I get back today, I'll hang a fishing rod from the gallery, sit beside the copper stove, roast meat, and drink wine. It ought to be rather satisfying. The old woman peddling mushrooms gives me a wicker basket, just the right size to hold the food and seasoning. I get ready to make one more trip to the tavern for a small jar of good wine. As the boat steers toward the tavern, I hear someone greeting me, Merchant Zhao, and turn to find the bai's elderly steward and third lady bai on a boat beside mine. I suppose she's just coming back from checking the accounts at a shop. I return her greeting. The nanny stands beside her, holding the bai family's youngest daughter. The little girl is in the middle of a crying fit, her voice ringing through rather loudly, and so I ask what's going on. Lady Bai forces a smile. This morning she insisted that she must come with me, but it didn't take long at all before she was kicking up a fuss about wanting to go home. Manager Zhang still has some things he must do at the next shop, but she wouldn't listen no matter what I say to her. This is good timing then. I was just about to head home, so let's have your daughter take this boat home before it takes me home. Oh, but I can't possibly impose. Lady Bai, now you're being too polite. This boat obviously belongs to your household, so you refusing would make me feel as though I'm inconveniencing you for using it. Lady Bai says sweetly, if you put it that way, then I guess it would be impolite for us to refuse. So she bids her boat steered closer. I take the child and hold her for now, then the nanny helps Lady Bai onto the boat I'm on. Once the child is in my arms, she wipes her tears and snot on my shoulder, calls me Adai a couple of times, then after a bit of whimpering she somehow actually stops crying. When the nanny wants to take her back, she twists out of her reach, refusing to let go. I tell her, how about I hold her for a bit longer? The nanny laughs. She does seem to be getting on quite well with you, Master Zhao. I joke around, she may as well become my adoptive daughter. Bai Ruhan's young daughter drapes herself over my shoulder. Her nanny takes the food basket that I'd set down at my feet earlier, and holds it for me. The little girl takes a liking to a mushroom in the basket and she babbles as she stretches out a hand. Adai, that one, Adai, that one. Lady Bai's pretty eyebrows narrow, she gives her daughter's hand a little smack and chides her, naughty, and her little girl's lips immediately purse. I can tell that she's about to start wailing soon, and what will end up suffering are my ears and my clothes, so I hasten to interject, you know, kids are only cute when they're a little naughty. I free up a hand to take a mushroom out of the basket, give it a quick wipe with my sleeve, and hand it to her. She grabs it at once, giggles, her mouth wide with milk teeth not yet fully grown in, and immediately starts putting the mushroom into her mouth. I promptly stop her. The nanny laughs. Master Zhao, you really do spoil children. But Lady Bai is lowering her voice and saying to me, Merchant Zhao, doesn't the boat who just passed us by look official? I don't think the man on that boat is any common man. Oh. I was so busy attending to Bai Ruhan's daughter I hadn't noticed any boat at all. Now that Lady Bai pointed it out to me, I turn to look in the direction she alludes to. Just as my gaze settles, I happen to meet a pair of eyes staring right at me. It's a canopied boat. The canopy is made of pitch black rattan, and the hull is brand new. It's manned by 4 boatmen, dressed ordinarily, and yet they stand straight as ramrods, not at all like ordinary people. 2 men stand at the bow. One dressed head to toe in light colors, all proper and severe looking, not a single hair out of place. Judging by his silhouette and bearing alone, I almost thought he was Zhang Bing. But then, I turn my attention to the other silhouette, the one who has already turned away to look elsewhere. Even if I don't see his face, and however the shape of his retreating figure has changed, I can still tell who he is at a single glance. Bai Ruhan's daughter twists around in my arms, and yanks at my sleeve. Adai, Adai. I pull back my gaze, then I say to Lady Bai, that can't be the Imperial envoy, can it? He's Yun Yu. End chapter. Imperial Uncle. Chapter 37. I take the boat to the Bai estate first, taking Lady Bai and her daughter home. Bai Ruhan is out. Lady Bai politely extends an offer for me to stay, and I politely decline. After turning away from the Bai estate, I buy a small jar of wine on my way back to my little house, then proceed to set up my roasting rack for some meat and wine. I wash the meat, and right as I start slicing, another burst of rain comes pouring down. It's quite another kind of delight to watch the way it showers onto the water. I light the coals, spread the meat on the rack, and pour some wine. The local wines produced here in Chengzhou are basically all undistilled yellow wine. Some breweries also make replicas of the capital brews, bamboo leaf green, apricot blossom wine and the like, but none of them even get close. Take this one that I bought for instance, it's just Chinsu's version of bamboo leaf green, but it's suffused with a faint, velvet soft sweetness. It's too bad that yellow wine trends warm. It may be rather cool now, with the flood and the rain, but ultimately it's still one of the hottest periods of the summer. I'm already covering the stove in lamb leg, and if I pour half a caddy of yellow wine down the hatch as well, with fire on top of more fire, who knows how many blisters will end up popping up around my mouth. Once the 15th of the 8th month rolls around though, it'll be a good time for yellow wine and crab. By then I'll probably be somewhere on the east coast. There'll be fresh gazamai crab to eat, and I can bring 2 jars of locally brewed yellow wine along in advance. Dark clouds press down heavily from above, and the sky is dim. Beyond the eaves, rain comes down like a curtain. A cool breeze occasionally takes a few drops of rain into the house, giving the room a special air of carefree charm. I used to resent the asceticism of the literati. I thought the way they could come up with poetry and prose while sitting in a run-down house staring at a freshly manured radish highly pretentious. Now that I'm eating roast mutton and staring out at a boundless expanse of rain and water, I find myself quite sophisticated, not so much different from the way they were. Cooled with fresh mountain spring water, the Chengzhou bamboo leaf green in the wine jug tastes rather unique on the tongue. If I also had thinly sliced watermelon, served on ice, or ice-chilled smoked plum juice to cut the grease in my food, that would make it even better. Earlier, I saw Yun Yu on a boat. It's well within reason that I should have, so I don't read too much into it. But I never expected him to change so much in 3 years. That probably has something to do with His Majesty's whim and vigor and the many imperial sons he's been having. Him and Kijhi are bound to have a trying lifetime. Either way, it no longer has anything to do with me whether their life is trying or not. Each of us must walk the path we choose. Perhaps it may look trying to an outsider, but those seeing things from the inside find it all quite enjoyable. I wonder if Yun Yu recognized me in that passing glance. The crippled Prince Huaichenjun no longer exists, only the merchant Zhao Chai, who can neither stage a rebellion nor covet the throne, remains. Even if he did see me, it's nothing he needs to worry his head over for Kijhi. But you never can tell, he may venture that I actually fled with my villainous heart to hide among commoners, still colluding with secret forces in an attempt to make a comeback. Then he'll come running at me with a bunch of soldiers again, and I'll get new set of cuffs and leg irons. Once I actually feigned death and evaded the law, I'd truly become a death row inmate who broke out of prison. Deceiving one's liege is a capital offense. If it can be verified, then all there's left for me is a beheading after they drag me back to the capital. Right now, the story is that Prince Huai took his life, and after Prince Zone woke up, His Majesty declared me innocent and threw in a grand tomb for good measure. But there's no way to know what these people are really thinking. The dead are never anything to worry about. One does not think twice about going through all the motions for the dead. But if this dead man becomes a living man again, things could get awkward. Someone who can go so far as to feign his own death, why, his secret powers are even plainer now. His Majesty may even send down an order right away to have my neck snapped without anyone the wiser. Only when the dead go back to being dead can one feel truly at ease about them. Absconding will be difficult, seeing that I'm in the middle of a flood, so I suppose I may as well wait and see. Yun Yu is at the Ministry of Works now, not the Ministry of Justice. He's only here to deal with the flood, that's all. That's just splendid. If he really did see me and has suspicions, he'll surely observe in secret for a few days. On top of that, he'll be busy with work and it'll be hard to send a letter. I have quite a bit of leeway to retreat yet. Once I'm away from Chengzhou, I'd better head to the southwestern part of the country first, pick up some goods and go overseas and hide away in a place like Java for a couple of years. My mother used to say to me that whenever anyone is suspected of anything involving the throne, absolutely nothing good can ever come to them. It doesn't matter if you're loyal or a villain, there's no way your presence can be tolerated. I didn't fully believe it at the time, only to realize later that neither my dad and I were able to see the truth quite so clearly as a woman like my mother. My spy opera had become a farce, and in the end, it was the backup plan she arranged for me that saved my life. Speaking of the escape, it was a bit unfair to Lu Tongyi. The way I judged the situation at the time, outside of Kijhe, among those officials in charge of that incident, the most astute and most formidable was none other than Lu Tongyi, and he also led the whole business. The only way I could get away successfully was by pulling the wool over Chancellor Liu's eyes. That's why I put on a tragedy in front of Lu Tongyi. It was rather close to the real thing, and it did manage to deceive him. No matter how astute or formidable someone is, watching a person spew blood and die all of a sudden in front of his eyes is bound to make him lose his head for a little while. There's nothing one can call secret powers in the Prince Huai estate, but it did have two martial arts masters. That would be Zhang Xiao and Steward Cao. Zhang Xiao's real name was Xiao Feng, Steward Cao was born Yu Su. Both were infamous pirates in their day. Xiao Feng was a master of disguise, and Yu Su was an expert of the lightness arts and divination. During the Great Drought of Zhongzhou, Xiao Feng impersonated an imperial envoy, announced a fake edict and opened up the granaries for the masses. When there was pestilence in Shuchen, the local military forces sealed off the city and left everyone there to die. Yu Su was a bandit outside Shuchen at the time. He stole into the imperial city's treasure room, cut the pearls off the emperor's crown and sold it to buy medicine for those in need. He even pasted notes all over the treasure room which read Shuchen's Yu Su carried out justice on heaven's behalf. High bounties were placed on both of them, and one after the other they escaped to the frontier. Somehow both of them ended up volunteering in my dad's army. My dad pretended not to know. When the barbarians invaded, Xiao Feng disguised himself as the enemy's deputy general, infiltrated their encampment, and beheaded their chief. Yu Su observed the local geography, and with about 100 soldiers opened up a new path, thus ensuring the success of a raid on the enemy camp. The barbarians suffered a crushing defeat. Unfortunately, this campaign exposed their identities. Afterwards, my dad came up with a plan and dragged in two corpses for Xiao Feng to disguise. It was only by declaring them dead that the matter passed without further investigation. Henceforth the two lived under pseudonyms and became stewards in the Prince Huai estate. Decades passed. Even I had no idea who they really were. Back then, Autumnal Hills, who wrote Sword of White Jade, was still an obscure writer. It was by using these two as a reference when penning Valiant Bandits in Times of Chaos that he rose to fame. That's the sole reason why such books as Sword of White Jade exist. But see, in order to match the chivalrous imagery in the story, there was by necessity quite a bit of embellishment applied to these characters. He turned the two plain bachelors Xiaofeng and Yusu, who could barely read, into charismatic, handsome young heroes constantly besieged by countless infatuated young women and beautiful heroines. Then once the two valiant bandits were murdered, one smitten chancellor's daughter and one princess even killed themselves to follow after them. As a youngster I had no idea who Steward Zhang and Steward So really were. I managed to get myself a copy of Valiant Bandits in Times of Chaos from the bookshop and read it to the point of obsession, filled with tears and sympathy for the two protagonists. In one balcony scene between Yusu and the princess, after much sentimental pathos, there was a passionate love scene. I salivated as I read and forgot myself so much that to my misfortune, my dad caught me. He sat beneath the gallery thumbing through it with relish, laughing heartily as he read, saying, "Bullshit! Bullshit!" My mother threw him a side eye. "What are you using that coarse language in front of a child for? Now what you should do is to bring the book to Zhang and So." My dad nodded. "My lady, you're perfectly correct." Confused, I watched as he folded down a few corners and happily made off with the book under his arm. It wasn't until my mother was near the end of her life that she told me about Xiaofeng and Yusu's true identities. She also told me, "Some of your shortcomings are just like your dad's. A few years ago, I prepared an escape route for you. These two can keep you safe and sound. Yet I never thought I'd actually use this path she left for me. I had kept the pill in a hidden pocket in my inner robe's collar, but I was planning to use it to save Yunyu as a last resort. I never thought I'd end up using it myself. It wasn't all that brilliant of a plan, really. One only needs find an anonymous body from the coffin depository with a similar figure to mine. The key lies in whether the acting for this opera is any good." After I was thrown into the celestial prison, Xiaofeng infiltrated the prison staff and came twice to see me. The first time, he came with Kitten and Kafei's entourage of bodyguards during their visit. The second happened on the morning of the escape, again disguised as a prison guard, come to collect the eating utensils. He told me that all preparations were complete. Over those 2 days, Lu Tongyi, Chu Suan, Kitten, Kafei, and Yunyu took turns on the stage, giving me ample reasons for a suicide. And so I sang my tragic, sad bit at Lu Tongyi, and sang it most heartily. According to custom, people who commit suicide to escape punishment like myself cannot be left in prison. Instead, the body must be laid on a woven mat, carried to either a shed or a quiet room. Then only after a coroner performs a post-mortem examination can a decision be made on what sort of funeral to give me. Once I was dead, in order to make a show of his benevolence, that nephew emperor of mine would undoubtedly bestow a coffin and a set of nice clothes to wrap the corpse in. It's not easy trying to come up with arrangements for someone like me, so that meant they'd simply carry me off to a burial, put up a memorial tablet, then a bunch of high officials would sit down with His Majesty to write me a respectable enough obituary, and that would conclude the whole business. Thus, the only time where tampering was possible was between the post-mortem examination and the washing and dressing ceremony. I feared the surveillance may still be tight then, and that's why I told Lu Tongyi that I wanted a cremation. Firstly, it would make it seem like I ran an honest business, would cheat no one, selling genuine goods at fair prices, and my heart had just up and died. It made my circumstances seem all the more tragic. Secondly, they have to cart me off to the outskirts of the city with open space better for lighting fires. The wild countryside, the mountains far from civilization, thatch huts, piles of firewood, all of which are easy to tamper with, giving us more chances to swap the body. Thirdly, if by any chance Lu Tongyi came to his senses and stopped being confused, or if Kijhe, Yunyu, or anyone else grew suspicious, they might want to open up the coffin and check the body, or if Prince Zone woke up and they wanted to move my body to bury elsewhere to make us all look more respectable, turning into a handful of ashes was the safest bet. Things did not turn out far from my expectations. Perhaps because Prince Huai's death made everyone feel as though the sun had come out behind the clouds and they were all overjoyed. To make sure they're not being overjoyed for nothing, they all came to watch the washing and dressing ceremony. According to what the two stewards told me later, His Majesty came personally to supervise these procedures. Yunyu and Lu Tongyi were of course also present. The Dowager Empress couldn't come in person, and thus sent her older brother. It was quite an ostentatious occasion. Even my princess consort Huai, along with a few nuns, waddled out of her Buddhist nunnery with her baby belly to recite a sutra to help me find peace, to pray I'd lay down the wrongdoings of this life and become a kind person in the next. Out of the whole mess of people, I hear only Kitten cried. Lu Tongyi left halfway through the proceedings. It's too bad I was passed out and couldn't witness this grand occasion with my own eyes. Xiaofeng and Yusu didn't have a chance to switch out the body at all. Good thing I was clever enough to ask for a cremation, thus averting the tragedy of turning my fake death into a live burial. And it was fortunate too that it was hot, far too warm to leave a corpse lying around. Even His Majesty thought a cremation would be more thorough, and right after the dressing he had me carted off to the Pufang monastery that was originally built for me, and left the body there overnight. Naturally, no one was there to keep vigil and burn paper offerings for someone like myself. There were many guards keeping watch over the body, but since it's the dead, and while I was alive I liked men, the body was seen as taboo and they didn't keep watch over me very well. That's the only reason Xiaofeng and Yusu were able to swap me out with a disguised body. Next day, the body was burned in Pufang Monastery's rear courtyard, in a patch of open space. It was then loaded into a jar, set in a coffin, and buried behind the monastery. It was in a carriage leaving the capital where I opened my eyes. And at the time it felt like I'd reached the next life. I was tricked clean out of the backup plan I'd saved for myself in the Southwest Valley and Suzhou by Yunyu, so I had to steer clear of that, steward. So that is to say, Yusu told me that my mother, the former princess consort Huai, had left me a plan years ago. There's a census registry and an old address. Since both mother and father were traders, I'd been gone since I was a little boy, but there's still a residence at the old address. My former neighbors even remembered that my childhood name was Jia Wang, and that I'd climbed the locust tree in a neighbor's house to the east, stolen pomegranates from the neighbor to the west. I said goodbye to Yusu first, then I went with Xiaofeng to visit his master's master to open up the acupuncture points in my leg and untie my tendons. It had been knotted up for more than a decade, so it took quite a bit of work to untie it again. It was more than 3 months of rehabilitation before my limp was gone. I took leave of Xiaofeng and his master, returned to my ancestral home in Zhenyang Prefecture, county of Shuangqiao, village of Qinshui, and stayed there for a few days. I visited the old neighbors, tidied up the old residence that had sat vacant for more than a decade, offered sacrifices to the ancestors at their burial site, and went on traveling all over the country as a merchant. By the time I started traveling, I heard that Prince Zone had woken up. Prince Huai had gone from a traitor to a loyalist, dead from bad luck and wrongful charges. For a while it was common market gossip passed along the street stalls, and I listened to it as though it had nothing to do with me. Sometimes I'd throw in my 2 coppers to Prince Huai really was a luckless sod. Just as I thought, they dug up that ash urn from the crowded cemetery behind Pufang Temple, and a grand tomb was built to give it a grand burial. His Majesty announced a perfectly respectable penitential decree for himself. Lu Tongyi resigned. It sounds like they're even going to turn the Prince Huai estate where I used to reside into some sort of memorial hall. At any rate, as far as everyone's concerned, it's a happy ending. Outside the eaves the rain gradually lessens. When I think of all that happened to me 3 years prior compared to the 3 years since, it's like someone in a current life thinking of a past life. Too bad Autumnal Hills stopped writing long ago. if he takes what happened to me and stretches it out a bit, he may be able to get a book out of it. Well, even if he's still around, he probably won't pick this chapter. Everyone loves legends of chivalrous heroes. Who'd want to read a record of a good-for-nothing prince turned merchant? I sprinkle some cumin on a slice of meat, and as I turn it over I spot a boat steering towards my house from afar. I squint, scrutinizing it. Looks like it's a boat from the Bai estate. The boat stops next to the railing, and as I assumed, Bai Ruhin makes his way out of the cabin. He jumps onto the gallery and takes urgent wide strides into the hall. Something's gone wrong, my boy. I rise, astonished. Bai Ruhin paces anxiously, pulls a chair over and sits down. He rubs his hands together as he tells me, "There's a bit of a problem with that batch of silk you ordered." "What is it?" "The very reason I'm planning on sticking around in Chengzhou until the start of the 8th month is this very batch of silk. There's a local silkworm in Chengzhou that spins silk in the summer sometime around the 7th and the 8th months. They don't eat mulberry leaves, instead they eat the leaves of a tree colloquially known as the butter tree. Silk is abundant in spring and autumn, but rare in the summer. Trading it to weaving factories in Suhang can make me a small fortune. The local silk has a bit of yellowing to it, isn't white enough, and it's inexpensive. But after the weaving and dyeing the finished product is quite fine. It's hard to tell that anything's wrong with it. The reason I came to Chengzhou in the first place was to deliver a batch of medicinal ingredients to Bai Ruhin. While eating at a roadside food vendor, I overheard someone talking about how the silkworm eggs are doing this summer, and that's how I found out about these local silkworms. The locals all believe the silk inferior and never tried to export it before, so with my interest piqued I decided to try ordering a batch. To make Bai Ruhin help me network and order the silk, I even invested some money in his pharmacy. I then proceeded to bring it up with a few weaving factories in Suhang, and they also sounded rather interested. A big merchant is here from Suhang to order silk as well, and their offer is twice that of yours, my boy. From what I heard, sounds like it's one of the firms you were planning to sell the silk to. The firm's name is Ruhi. To think it would be Ruhi. Ruhi is the biggest cloth trader in Jiangnan these past couple of years, with many storefronts and a dozen or more weaving factories and embroidery studios under its helm. My wanting to sell silk to Jiangnan involved mostly speaking with the few weaving factories under Ruhi, since I believe they conduct their business in good faith. Who'd have thought they'd turn around to poach my deal at a loss while there's a flood on? If they're offering twice the money I did for this batch of silk, they're basically buying it at a loss. But to rush here during a flood just to lose money and rob me of a deal is rather odd. I thought it was odd too. With an offer that high they could have ordered the best silk in Jiangnan. Why fight over it here in Chengzhou in the middle of a flood? What's worrisome is that they're only offering this much now to squeeze you out of the deal, then once the silk is produced they'll push the price down again. But right now their offer is higher, so I'm afraid a lot of the local silk farms you've dealt with will renege. It's odd no matter how you look at it. Bai Ruhin continues, you're both working the same deal, so it's not proper for them to run you out like this. I heard about it first thing this morning and went over to see what's what immediately. I talked to two people from Ruhi. They said they don't mean to poach your deal, what they really want is a long-term business relationship. One of their higher UPS is here, it may even be their general manager. He said he'd like to invite us over for a chat this afternoon and tell us their reasoning. That man has to leave by tomorrow. Do you want to go? I consider this for a moment. Let's just go then. I put out the fire, change into another set of clothes. Bai Ruhin and I take his boat down to see Ruhi's representative. Bai Ruhin tells me that Ruhi has booked a banquet at the Good Fortune. The Good Fortune is probably the most presentable banquet hall in all of Chengzhou. They have excellent wine, tea, and beautiful women. It's a good place to talk business. The rain has just happened to stop as well. It's too bad I've just stuffed my belly full of roast mutton. I probably won't be able to eat much. The boat stops at Good Fortune, and a server takes us inside and leads us through the second floor gallery to the door of a private dining room. The server pushes the door open, the man standing in front of the window turns around, and I pause at the door. He too pauses by the window. Bai Ruhan puts his hands together to greet him. Merchant Mei, good to see you again. This here's the merchant Zhao I told you about. I do the same. I would be Zhao Chai. Lu Tongyi's clear eyes stare right into mine. He returns the gesture, raising his sleeves, and smiles. And I would be Mei Yang. End chapter.